Maybe later.
All right.
We're live?
We're live.
Oh, well, I tell you, let's just right off the bat toast to this book and its author on the Harp Effect, Friday afternoon in the Coachella Valley with Marcia and Yo Reno and,
Kenny.
well, there's more to come about this book, but Kenny Snell is responsible for this, and I think that's she's out of the kitchen, so but she's my friend Kim.
To the success of this book, that's needed more than ever. I guarantee it. It's a little disheartening when you go to school board meetings and parents don't show up anymore. They think everything's okay, and it's not. But
I didn't see the microphone, and I went, wait a minute.
oh my God.
Okay, this book. Well, first of all, I think we give a little background that we actually met Kenny and Kim through our going to the school board meetings.
Well, to the rallies too.
Oh.
I remember where I first met you, actually.
Where?
Is when I was sitting in the East Valley headquarters trying to get signatures for the recall petition.
Right.
And you guys came in.
Oh, okay.
And you even said you might run for school board. Well, you said I might. Don't put it past me, but I don't want to.
Big responsibility.
I'm not so sure about that. Have a drink on that one. So Kenny, our friend, has such a vivid background. He's been in education since for
22.
1996, I moved.
From where to where?
Well, I grew up in Moreno Valley. But at the time I moved out here, I was at Laverne still. Went to college.
And,
okay.
and what did you teach?
I taught mostly social studies. World history was my staple, but I coached and taught policy debate, humanities, American history, government, econ for like 15 years or so, maybe a little bit more, and even did the Information and Communications Technology Academy for a few years. I started that program, wrote all the coursework for the first 3 years, and then they switched it from programming to cybersecurity. And I left because they didn't even say thank you for writing all those courses, but we want to change it. They just said we already changed it. So I'm like, well, you guys can write the new coursework. I'm out.
Isn't that always the way? You know, the contributor, the person. Can you imagine spending your life in all of that with education and trying to inform people of all these different things and then not even getting a thank you?
Yeah, when his whole premise is just to elevate kids, right? Make their world better. I mean, you being an educator.
Enlighten them.
Yeah. Get them to think for themselves.
And that's the thing, I always told them even way back when I first started, when I was teaching, I'd say, don't believe me. Go look it up for yourself. Don't believe any of your teachers. Go look it up for yourself. Just because I say it doesn't mean it's necessarily true for you. We all have our predilections or our biases, and that can color what we teach. So I'm like, look it up. If you don't believe me, go look it up.
Yeah. Whereas so many other teachers are trying to tell kids how to think, what to think, why they have to think. You open it up so they can think for themselves. It's kind of what's his name? Self-reliance. Ralph Waldo Emerson.
I'm sorry?
Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Oh, right.
He wrote a book on self-reliance. And I read that as a kid, and I was like, why isn't this in schools? Well, they didn't want it.
Yeah.
Well, as you can see, we were quite impressed with and so feeling blessed that Kim and Kenny came into our lives. And the thing that I feel is so remarkable is he backs it up. He backs up his life, he backs up his beliefs, he backs up his world, and he put it in a book. And it's called, you were saying,
The Other Side of the Lunch Table. That's a great title.
You want me to explain that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, most people kind of picture the teacher's lounge, right? And at lunch, all the teachers go to the teacher lounge and eat. And that might be true in elementary school or junior high, but I was at a high school for 27 years. And in such a big campus where you have hundreds of teachers, most people just go, especially if you have inner hallways, they just go to that inner hallway and you eat lunch with the people that kind of teach in your hallway. So there's a bunch of separate little teacher lounges going around. And, I start this book off with an encounter that I had with another teacher at the gun store. And we started talking because I didn't know you were conservative. And I'm like, well, I tried to give you clues here and there, but, and he goes, well, yeah, you have to kind of keep your conservative ideals on the down low around there. And I kind of start that out with, that's the problem in education is liberals are free to spew their ideologies without any pushback. But if you were to bring out your conservative ideas, then you're kind of shunned and you're snarked at, you're made fun of. And so most conservative teachers or ones that have some common sense will just will keep it low because they don't want to make waves and cause trouble.
And that wave will swallow them.
I'm sorry?
The wave, it will swallow them.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes back to when people say stuff and all you got to do is, well, show me the facts, show me the data. And they blow up. They won't show me the facts and the data that support their idea. Why is that? It's like we're having a conversation and you just spill hate with no facts, no data. Yeah.
Well,
Marciarino, I'm so glad you're back to the tavern.
Oh,
I've got some.
Hey, it's Kim from the kitchen.
We told you originally we don't really just keep her in the kitchen, but as you can see, what a great job she does.
We've got jalapeno poppers, and we've got a veggie pizza.
Sorry, folks.
Why do you think we're here? We get fed?
And I'm Kenny from the bartender, but I already switched roles.
Right?
Well, so now you said something when you came out, and I said, "Here's Kim from the kitchen." And what did you say when you first came out? Because there was something about with Kenny. Phooey. I'll have to think about
Kenny
it.
from the tavern.
From the tavern. Thank you very much.
Kenny
I knew
from
we
the
were
tavern.
a team.
I'm the kitchen.
Yeah.
He's the bar.
And Kenny's Tavern. Well, now we have to visit that now, Kenny.
Okay.
Because I think that Kenny's Tavern, right? Mm-hmm. Is that, and that's your website or Facebook?
Well, it's kennys.substack.com, but I go by the moniker Kenny from the Tavern. And the reason for that is because in 2020, 2021, we felt the only place we had freedom was when we went and visited Riley's farm up in Oak Glen.
Right.
And he's very much a freedom-loving patriot and suffered a lot of lawsuits because of it. That's where he would get field trips. A lot of schools would take field trips up there, 3rd or 4th grade, and he does a living history as far as the revolution and everything. And he was adamant, I'm not going to make you wear a mask here. So we go up there a lot. And so I don't know if you can see that lantern. So we kind of did it up like a tavern. The old style lamps and of course the alcohol.
Alcohol.
And then, during the revolution.
Right.
During the Revolutionary War in 1776, in that era, most of your political talk was taking place at taverns.
Are we losing Wi-Fi?
He was just showing the tap.
Just so you know, if you tip, we do ring the bell.
Oh.
They get all excited.
Well, when we first came here, we did a show with Kenny and Kim from the kitchen a while back, and it was to inaugurate the Kenny's Tavern. And so they're doing some remodeling. And so they sent us over to the lunchroom here. Or should I say
the lunch table?
The lunch table.
I'm glad you're on the same side of the lunch table.
Okay, so see, and it's just so much fun to come here, and it's so exhilarating to absolutely engage in conversation. Did you move the book so I don't spill any food on? Okay. And with Kenny, because of all that he has to offer, not only to the world of education, but that is his specialty. And he has just overwhelmed us with just, all these wonderful things. And in fact, he was just telling me about the cover of the book right before we went on the air, and I find it just fascinating.
So, there's an alternate economy out there.
What does that mean?
Well, it means stop using the big brands. Stop using the big brand names and the ones, the corporations that try to control you, the ones that made you wear a mask to go in their store. Shun them, put them out of business. And there's a lot of talent out there from people that don't necessarily have a business. So on Truth Social, I found an artist and told her my idea, my concept, and she drew this cover. So, of course, this is the ship, the USS Education, and it's in troubled waters.
Yeah.
And it's about to be eaten by sharks. And this pot of dolphins is coming to save it. And, of course, in the book, I use a running analogy of, like we were talking about conservative teachers, that they're surrounded by sharks. Yeah. And, if you remember the old TV show Flipper, the dolphin, right? In every episode, he was ramming a shark and saving the kids and everything. So, I remember one time I had a couple friends from France, and we went down to Snell to surf.
Where?
A couple friends from France were visiting, and we took them down to San Onofre. We can't surf, but we were kind of rented a board and tried. But we only have one board, so I'm sitting up on the beach, and they're out in the water, and all of a sudden I see these fins in the wave. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to get eaten by sharks. And how am I going to tell his mom, because I don't speak fluent French, but of course they're dolphins. This is, I'm not an ocean person because I saw Jaws in 5th grade, so I automatically see those fins. I think sharks.
Yeah, Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
So I liken the conservative teacher to Flipper the dolphin, but since there's so many sharks around, you got to pretend to be a shark so they don't recognize you and attack you. Because one-on-one, the dolphin can defend himself, but if you're surrounded by sharks, just one dolphin, you can't. So.
Well, and in some ways, I've noticed it's pretty easy to kind of do that if you come from the viewpoint, like you're in the crow's nest, and everybody else is down here doing what they're doing and preaching hate and messing up this and messing up that, and you just kind of watch and see, and then which direction we need to go because you're in the crow's nest. You're in the crow's nest. You know what direction. They don't. Because their mind is whook. Well,
it's human nature you don't want to cause trouble mostly, you're a law-abiding citizen, you're going to follow the rules, you're going to be a good team player, not cause trouble. So you just kind of pretend to go along with it. And a lot of teachers, what they do is they quietly resist. In other words, they pretend to go along with everything, but when they get back to their classroom, they'll try not to implement as much as they can get away with not implementing.
Right.
So long as they're not tattled on. But the thing is, nobody knows you're doing that. You're in the silent war all by yourself. And so you're not going to ever win that war.
No, until you actually speak up. And my thing is, like, what is wrong with conservatism? I mean, I know we've been brainwashed to think, well, it's for the rich.
That's the only thing that's wrong with it,
right?
Is the brainwashing.
Yeah, because, when I was laying carpet all those years, I was working 10-hour days, sometimes 12-hour days, 6 days a week, sometimes both weekends, and it was just to get ahead. Not to get a hand out, but to get ahead. And nowadays, that's totally reversed, and it's totally acceptable. And it's like, why? Why are they making the kids, dumb, for lack of a better word, like dumb-sizing them?
And I'll tell you I don't know, well, the reason they do that is for power and control, of course. Because if you can demonize your enemy, it's propaganda. That's what propaganda is all about. Dehumanize your enemy and you maintain control. But the interesting thing is, out here, I think it's like the student population is something like 65% Hispanic. and they just paint conservatives as racist and haters and all this. So when I taught my government classes, one of the first things I would do is ask the kids, just by a show of hands, if you want to, how many identify as conservative or Republican, and a couple hands would go up. How many identify as liberal or Democrats, and most hands would go up. And then I'd give them a political issue survey, like where they would rate from 0 to 5 how strongly they felt about things like gun control, abortion, illegal immigration, and, the whole spectrum of causes.
Yeah.
And then I'd have them go stand on, based on where their score was. And it was almost completely turned around that most of them realized that they identified with conservative principles. So but they come in so brainwashed that I can't be conservative because those people are racist and hate things,
Yeah.
So.
Well, they're not allowed to think for themselves.
No.
And you and I mean, the school board meetings we attended, it's embarrassing.
There was an advanced placement biology teacher at my school that told kids that we were in a pandemic of the unvaccinated, that told kids that gender was a social construct.
That was what?
Gender was a social construct. In other words, that you were born and the doctor just decided to give you either male or female, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you are. I mean, this is a biology teacher. My parents were both science teacher, biology teachers for over 30 years. And they just can't believe the state of education these days.
Yeah. Well, it crept in. First you had the participation trophy, the participation certificate. I have some really cool friends, and in sports, they won't let their kid have a participation trophy. Mm-hmm. And the kid starts to cry, throw a tantrum. He says, "Well, give me your cell phone then if you're going to cry about this. You didn't win anything. You participated,
Yeah. My son he's in his early 20s now, and back when he was a kid, he didn't really appreciate those trophies. When he did, the football and the soccer,
right.
he didn't really care.
Mm-hmm.
But he loved my pool tournament league trophy that I won one year. He loved that trophy because, I earned it, and so he loved that trophy. I let him have it, but the participation, what did I do for it? I just
one of the reasons why we're just so excited to have Kenny and to hear his viewpoints on things that we have been informed of recently, or in the last couple of years, I guess, and how we have tried to make it known that we are very unhappy with what's being taught in the schools these days, and there's proof for all of you who are going, "Oh, I don't believe it, I can't believe that." There's proof. There is proof.
Yeah, I mean, where can they go to see where California is rated? I just heard we're at 50% efficiency in English, and maybe even less in math.
Yeah.
So now they want to lower the standards.
But we're one of the, our state spends probably about the most per student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have the lowest ratings in the United States. One of the lowest.
So it makes you wonder, for about 10, 15 years, the school district out here, and a lot across the nation, would regularly go to China. They had exchanges. So you had board members, and I think you remember the sign I used to have, the board member. But board members and teachers, administrators, superintendents would go to China to study their academics. And then later in the year, Chinese would come over here to observe our creativity. So you have to wonder, if we spent so many years observing these academic, techniques, why didn't we ever apply them?
Yeah.
And, of course, China is a communist country, and they're not going to let anybody out of the country that's not a Communist Party member.
Yeah.
Right? So, just kind of makes you wonder. And, of course, the Chinese Communist Party paid for that travel through the Shanghai Institute and the California school board association.
And the school board were like, woo,
Which, remember,
let's go to China. Right?
California School Board Association is part of the National School Board Association that colluded with the Biden White House to declare any parent that went to school board meetings as domestic terrorists.
Oh, I got something to say on that. When
Anybody that ever spoke out.
Remember when that happened? I dressed up as the devil to speak to
yeah.
the school board. And because I was so frustrated. And it was near Halloween. So I painted my skin all red, my arms, black nails. I had a gold medallion, bushy eyebrows, a beard, mustache, pointy ears.
It was a very good costume.
Yeah, it was a great costume. And I remember walking up to the school board, and I'm like going, bravo, school board. I thought I was going to have to come up there and take your place, but you're doing a far better job than me. And of course, all the parents, they loved it, but I put Marcia through kind of the ringer because she's like, oh, you're going to get arrested. But when you have God.
I like how you ended that, though. You said, I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I have to interject here because as you guys get more and more and more.
Coming.
Oh
my God. Is it Marcia and Reno from the Harp Effect?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hi,
I
Karen.
love you guys. Oh, are you Kenny from the temple?
Yeah, this is Karen. Where's your mask, Karen?
I don't have a mask, but I got your book. But
Really? You read my book?
I don't have kids. I don't know why I need to read this, but I'm so into celebrities.
Oh,
Would you sign it? Would you sign it?
Well,
what
sure,
are you guys
Karen.
eating, huh? What do you got?
Guacamole.
Oh God, I love guacamole. I love
Yourself,
guacamole.
Karen. Yeah.
Thank you. I love your show. I watch it every Friday at 4.
To
I'm
Karen.
not sure I do. I love celebrities.
Do
I love
your
Hollywood.
own research.
I love Hollywood. They're all so good. They're all so good.
We try our best,
Yeah.
Karen.
Do I really need to read this? Because I don't
No,
have any kids.
I just said to Karen, do your own research. But, like I tell you every time you come by,
Oh.
don't turn off the news.
But I like the Today Show, and I like
and
MSNBC.
The View.
I love Rachel Maddow.
Karen's
She
special.
tells everything
And
the
you
way
love
it
The
is.
View, right?
I love The View. Oh my God, I want to be on The View. I want to sit there with them. But well, thanks. I don't know if I'll read it.
Well, thank you for buying it.
Well, what's it about?
Well, you need to read it, Karen. You really need to read it.
Can you read?
I can, but all right. See you guys. Oh, is that cheese dip?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Karen.
Bye, Karen.
Oh, a round of applause for Karen, please. Oh my gosh, is she not phenomenal?
She's converted. And she doesn't know it.
But when you guys get going with all of this stuff, she was such a moment of relief for me because, it's like I try. I really do, but I have to really believe what my mother said to me years ago. Because I'm so thankful I sing and dance because she said, thank goodness we gave you dancing lessons because at least your feet work because your head sure doesn't.
Well, man, you've been you were a teacher for 40 years?
100 years, I don't know.
And you're still teaching basically because
I know.
yeah, it doesn't end because it's how you get your students to think. It's like how Kenny does it. It's how he gets the students to think. And I think about my upbringing, even in an elementary school. I was fortunate enough to be raised by women, grandmas, aunts, and my mom, a single mom. And I had some really strong teachers that took a liking. And even in the first grade, they advanced me to the second grade. In the second grade, they wanted me to go to the third grade. And, we don't see that anymore. Teachers taking a genuine interest to elevate the student as opposed to manipulating the student.
True.
Yeah, the grooming. For lack of a better word.
Not to mention that.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I have a different kind of student than what you're kind of referring to in the fitness and dance world. But it really is still the same because I get them and they come to me and together we try to make each person's life better.
Yeah.
Just make your own life better. Keep yourself moving and going and doing what you love and trying to at least understand each other and
Empathy.
Empathy.
That's a good word.
Empathy.
Empathy.
Yes, with each other so that we can perhaps one day put it all together. Maybe even here at Kenny's Tavern around the lunch table. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
before we close off, Kim, did you see Karen when she was here?
Oh, I did. I showed her the door.
Well, while Kim is here and taking a little break away from all of this and the kitchen and Karen, but she was she was pretty bold. I liked her. I think she was.
I think she's changing.
Yeah, but
Waking up.
Kim is my dear friend. I don't care if she's in or out of the kitchen. We are very good friends, and she's an outstanding
Tap dancer.
Yes, you got it. And
more on that to come.
And more on that to come. What is it called?
Two Ladies at the Bar.
Yes,
That's the
and
title.
yes, here we go. You got it, girl.
Not just drinking.
No.
And because we met a long time ago, and then it sort of like circled around, and thank you, God. I mean, I feel so blessed. We're friends. We're here enjoying all this absolutely lavish, food, and talking about how we can better the world. What can we do? I don't have children in school. Reno actually has grandchildren in school. You have anybody in school yet? Grandchildren?
Some grandchildren up in Oregon.
And so it's
Not
like,
quite in school yet.
Yeah, but they will be. And so we're trying to find a path that we all can take hand in hand, one way or another, for the betterment of all. Not just one group or one group here or somebody over there. And be kind to each other.
But you've heard the phrase divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. They're dividing us up into factions, be it Republican versus Democrat or, black versus white or race, ethnicity, religion, everything. The more division we can have, then the better they control us.
Well, it's those words that they use, the equity, diversity, inclusion.
You're thinking of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, and social justice.
That's another interesting thing is the use of language.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you see on the ballots when you vote.
Yeah.
And the measures or the propositions or the bonds.
Yeah.
It's never what it says it is.
No.
So the California Healthy Youth Act came out 2014 to 2016, and that established in California what they call a law, but is not necessarily a law, that if a student identifies as a transgender, so if I have a girl that says, I'm a boy, then I have to recognize that girl as a boy. I have to call her by her boy's name. And if she decides that she doesn't want her parents to know, I, as a teacher, would have to pretend when I talk to the parents that I'm talking about a girl. But if I don't refer to that girl as a boy in the classroom, then I can be brought up on harassment charges. Not charges as in criminal charges.
Yeah.
But I could be sued. The district would write me up for violating education code and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the author of that law said that kids as young as 2
2-year-old.
Kids as young as 2 should be able to identify as the opposite gender, and you'd have to recognize that and call them a boy or a girl and keep it secret from their parents.
Yeah, but you have to be 18 to go to war, 16 to get a license, 21 to drink, 21 to buy marijuana, right? I think. I mean, all these things, but yet you can allow a 2-year-old to decide for themselves.
Not only that,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that this is where my
Alright.
trouble at school really started, is I tried to bring attention to my colleagues, well, my liberal colleagues, that, California was trying to pass a law, which they did pass, that outlawed or banned punishment for willful defiance. So if you told a kid to put their phone away, they could just flip you off and keep talking, and they would not be suspended.
Oh.
They will not suspend kids for willful defiance or for, purposefully missing school or anything else.
Yeah.
That willful, because kids don't make good decisions, they say.
Right.
And in 2021, California passed the Peace Act, which requires police officers.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
Which requires police officers to have a bachelor's degree because, 20-year-olds just are not mature enough to make good decisions.
Right.
So they recommend that you go to school for an ethnic studies degree. But they turn it around, and at 2 years old, you make good decisions to call yourself a boy or a girl.
Are you guys hearing this? How asinine this is? And this is what happens when we talk about the problems, but we don't do anything. We talk about it, and we spill out hate and anger. When you have somebody like Kenny sticking his neck out, what we feel is doing the right thing. I mean, thank God my grandkids and even my nephews, they have good heads on their shoulders, and they listen to me.
But, Reno, what do you care if someone changes their nickname? That's honestly what they asked me when I was telling them that, you participate in this pretend world. Then these kids are going to go on and get on these puberty blockers, which is basically surgical or medical
Yes.
castration.
Yes.
And then they end up at these gender clinics where they're mutilated, and Big Pharma's getting rich off of it, and the
Yep.
surgical centers are getting rich off it. And they looked at me and said, what do you care if they changed their nickname?
And there's so many videos out there of people young people that were allowed to do this, and they tell you it was the most horrific thing they ever did in their life. They were manipulated, they were pushed into it, thinking it seemed cool at the time. Once it was done, their life is a wreck. And there's numerous videos on it. And it's like, why aren't people waking up to the truth?
Well, I think that people are still non-believers, and please, everybody, the reason we feel really grateful that we have found a vehicle through Kenny and Reno, you, because you have done a lot of research in order to prove it, to back up all of this. And I know that you want to say, oh, I don't believe it. Well, you know what? If you want proof, contact us. We'll show you where to get the truth and the proof for all of this, because it's happening. And we have looked and searched and tried to find ways that we too could offer the truth so that more and more people are aware of what is really the truth that's going on, and so that we can find a solution and do something about it, so that the world, what is it? I heard it today. What a wonderful world. And the skies are blue, and I think Louis Armstrong was singing it, and I started to actually tear up, because it was like, it is a wonderful world, and we're letting it do this, and we cannot do that. We don't have to. We get to.
There you go.
We get to improve,
we get to be
at
this
least ourselves, our world, our friends.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And even on my car, I mean, back in the day when the pandemic happened, and they declared, real estate agents as essential business. And I'm like, no, all biz are essential. It affected everybody. So on the back of my Mini Cooper, I had all biz are essential. And I got so many beeps, so many thumbs up. It was like really cool. So now on my car, I have who protects our children protects the world. If you think about it, who protects our children protects the world. That will eliminate a lot of evil if you really are trying to protect the children. And, it's
And
not hard.
Marcia, you mentioned evidence. And if you were to go on my Substack, there's a little magnifying glass at the top, which is a search function. And you can search for any of this, CRT, DEI, election integrity. And in those articles I write, I back it up with evidence. I use public records requests, releases, documents. So I'm using primary sources directly from districts, from county offices of education, or the registrar of voters office if it's about elections, government, California laws, everything. So when you see that little word in red, that's a link. Click on it, and it takes you to the primary source document. So, I mentioned this in here. It's almost like a release for liberals to say, without evidence, you said, without evidence.
Yeah.
And they said that to us about the recall. But
Okay, we're going to go back to the book, but Reno, please check to see if anybody is tuned into us. We can find like people that may want to connect with us. And I can't see it from here. Blind in one eye and can't see out of the other. But it's
Alan Jensen.
Alan Jensen. You must have got me telepathically today. I called you, I think back in 1898, and you've not returned that call. And I told you about how everybody thought you were a star the other day when you were singing someplace. Alan Jensen, my wonderful, wonderful friend and fabulous vocalist. Okay.
Peggy Hart.
That's my niece, who has also written a book called The Forgotten Ornament. And it's not just a Christmas book, but it's her first adventure out into the world of writing a book.
Well,
And I
very
love
cool.
her.
Vicky Valdez.
congratulations on that.
Vicky Valdez is our fabulous neighbor.
Yeah.
Fabulous, wonderful neighbor. And where is their restaurant?
Well, it's up in 29 Palms. They have a mobile kitchen.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's great. Anyway, we love you, Vicky.
You got Arnold Galvin.
Arnold.
Galvin. Arnold Jr.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what's his name. And Arnold,
And his wife.
and I can never say her name. And what's the name of her spa?
Susana.
And her spa in Palm Springs.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, we're going to have to fix that so that we can tout that. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Linda Locklear is watching from
Puppies.
Bobby's.
From Bobby's. Bobby's. They closed. I
know.
Oh, we miss you, Linda.
But they're happy.
Yeah.
They're happy.
They needed to.
This is what they wanted.
Rosalie
Yes.
Gray. Rosalie Gray.
Rosalie, oh, how wonderful. My sister's very good friend and my friend from back in Ohio. Barnesville, to be exact.
Celeste.
Our dear friend. Have you met our friend Celeste yet? Oh, yeah, the sister that Reno always wanted.
And Georgia Hastings.
Georgia, you are such a great supporter. Georgia is a beautiful pianist. She was with Marco Mendez, and they had an orchestra, and they play. And I want to know that you are still making music, because you keep the music playing. Keep the music playing. Keep the writing going. Anything you want to say about this book right now? Like why? Where can people buy it?
You can buy it on Amazon.com. Just type in the title, The Other Side of the Lunch Table, and it should pop right up. And it's a very reasonable $10.66.
Wow.
Which is an interesting price, I know, but it has some significance.
Are they getting it backwards?
No.
Okay.
I fixed it.
This is great, Kenny. So, and if anybody forgets and they want to get the book and they can't remember the title and they don't remember the beautiful, fabulous,
It's on video.
artistic, it's on our video. Yes, it is.
It's a really quick read. I didn't want to fill it up with a lot of my articles from the past, but I did give references to them should people want to look them up and see the evidence for themselves. But there is some public documents, but it just kind of takes us through our, and you're in it too. I don't know if you realize that, but your name does get mentioned in there. It
Is he
takes
gonna
us
embarrass
through the
me?
recall process and how the district and the County Office of Education and the Registrar's Voter and even Gannett News, who of course publishes the Desert Sun, kind of all got together to stymie our efforts.
But you didn't mention Karen.
Karen, we won't negate you because you were a very fine addition to.
And I could not have done any of this without my Karen.
Yeah, she's real.
Karen.
I don't know.
my Karen.
I don't know if he.
I'm not
proves-
cheating on you.
I don't know if he proves in here any evidence that they really are a fabulously married couple that have done beautiful things in this world to make others' lives better.
Yeah.
And with that, I can't thank you enough for tuning in tonight. Does anyone have anything else they need to say? You know that you can.
No.
Okay, that you can connect with us if for some reason you forget the name or the title, but it's on the ad, and Reno will put up a little ad either tomorrow or the next day that will allow you to remind yourself that this is something you really, really would enjoy. And the reason I use the word enjoy is because you will have the feeling that at least you are informing yourself. And that's all we ask. And in the meantime, may everything that has been reduced to noise in you become music again. And music and friendship and published books.
And margaritas.
Cheers.
And your friends.
And I wish you were here to enjoy this wonderful feast that Kim from the kitchen has arranged for us.
And Kenny from the tavern.
And Kenny from the tavern. And Marcia and Reno from the Harp Effect. Till next Friday, have a wonderful week, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Night.